I've had a week.
Yeah, it's more fun.
Yeah, yeah. It's just like a lot.
Hello, and welcome to Fresh Off the Dome. This is your topic beat podcast, where it's all killer, no filler. We talk about a topic, get in and out, and just like talk about it until we're like, till we get everything we want to say about it. And I'm joined by Quinton Hoffman.
Pop and internet.
Oh my God.
And Ben
Alright.
Bellevue. What's poppin' internet?
Oh my
What's
God,
poppin'
problem with
internet? Yes.
Shit. I'm sorry if that bothers you, Ben.
Who gave this man a microphone?
The fuck? It's my computer's microphone.
And this topic this week is just about criticism in general. Just our thoughts about it, how we take criticism, how we
Shall
feel.
we just, like, begin it?
Yeah, like it's pretty much just how like just our general thoughts, like how we receive criticism, how we
Okay.
take criticism, how we give out criticism, and like how we see other people give out criticism at the
Okay.
same time. So you know.
Okay.
Okay.
But yeah, I kind of wanted to start with that. Like I guess I'll start with you, Quentin. Like
Okay.
what's your general thoughts of criticism? Like as far as like what you can give, what you can take,
Where to begin?
and just general.
I'm at a point where like I have to be real with people and be like, yo, you got like tell me how I'm doing. Like tell me what I'm doing wrong, because if no one's being frank, then it kind of sucks. Then it like there's no conversations happening. And like criticisms for me lead open conversations. Unless you're just being like a total asshole to be an asshole, then it's like you're not really critiquing anything. Like criticism in my sense has always been constructive, and like it's used to advance like conversations and open points of views that people aren't really used to. And like I can take criticism, but that's only because I'm so harsh on myself. You know what I mean? And like that's not a lot of like I'm sure a lot of writers struggle with being hard on themselves, but like not a lot of kids my age are hard on themselves. At least I see. And like not a lot of kids my age can take criticisms. They're all like, "Oh, you're just being mean. You're being an asshole," something like that. And that's something that bothers me, is because you have to be. Criticism is like something that makes the world round. If no one had criticism, then the world would be flat. You know what I mean?
Right. That's all you got?
Yeah. That's my general gist on criticism. I'll elaborate more when we
Sure.
get there. But
Ben, how are you feeling about criticism in general?
Um, sorry. I'm gonna get to that in 1 second. You don't think kids your age are hard on themselves? Because I know many kids
no,
your age,
not a lot of cats I see
and they're very hard on themselves.
are. I
Okay.
currently, as going to community college and seeing a lot of kids my age, they are not hard on themselves. They're just like cruising.
I mean, I think
But like that may be different. That's like as I said, that's completely different. Like if you go to different areas and different like backgrounds, you know what I mean?
I think that
It all
like,
depends on like
but I think being hard on yourself is also a really broad way to look at things, and I think some people
yeah,
don't outwardly like. I think some people are very hard on themselves, and their way of coping with it is to try and act like they aren't.
yeah,
Like they latch on this idea of fake it till they make it. So, I know many college students because I'm in college, and I knew many college
Yeah.
students in community college. And community college is admittedly a bit more of like coasting through because it's community college. But
yes.
I feel
for
like
sure.
in some way most people are hard on themselves. Like most
Yeah.
artistic people I know have imposter syndrome.
Oh, for sure. Like
I know plenty of people with anxiety or depression, and that's like it isn't necessarily tied to what they're creating, but they're hard on themselves. I
Yeah,
definitely
and,
think
like,
some people. I think
I'll
plenty of people
openly
don't take
say,
criticism
go ahead,
well. I think plenty of people
for sure.
our age don't take criticism well, but I think that isn't necessarily meaning they're lacking the ability to be hard on themselves. I'm sorry, I went on a tangent.
But no, but that's the thing. Is like people our age can't take criticism because criticism is used in such a negative connotation nowadays. You know
Yeah,
what
I mean, I think people our
Versus-
age can't take criticism because they're young, and that's just the result of being young. Like you haven't built up a resistance as easily.
Yeah.
Like,
Another thing is like, yeah, go ahead.
sorry, no. but yeah, like I think it's just something you learn. So I guess to actually answer the question, what I think of criticism. I mean, I'm a screenwriter. For anyone watching who don't know me, and I mean, I'm in school right now, but criticism is a core facet of being a screenwriter. And I've gotten shitty criticism. I've gotten criticism from people where it's like they're overly aggressive about it, or they don't really listen to what I'm trying to say. So I say one thing, like very recently, I presented an idea to somebody. I'm going to try and be vague about this because I highly doubt they will see this, but safety first.
Yeah, for sure.
I presented an idea to somebody and they were like, that's a mess. And then they explained their idea of how to they took my idea and then tried to
their
do
point
their
of view
version of it. And try to do my version. I'm like, here, I think this would work. And they said it to me and I was like, that is what I said, but in different words, which is fine. I might have phrased it poorly.
Yeah.
I don't mind that they misinterpreted it. But when I tried to say I was just, that's what I was trying to convey. So if you misunderstood, sorry, I just want you to understand that is what I meant. They were just kind of dismissive. So there is criticism that's shitty. That's someone being aggressive or not listening. But criticism has gotten this negative connotation where it's like people
and that comes with
as tearing you down
mud and all that, you know what I mean?
Well, it's gotten this connotation where it's like criticism is to tear someone down, but it's not, or if it is, you have to find a new word for the general idea of giving feedback and notes, because in life you need critique. You need to be critiqued on how you behave with people. You need to be critiqued on your products, because it's how you grow and how you learn. So I'm very direct in giving criticism in my screenwriting classes, because we present ideas and our job is to help make it better by giving notes, and I give a lot of notes. And I think just because I understand that I don't have any malicious intent when I give notes, I'm generally not hurt when people give me notes. I don't necessarily take every note as a good idea. Sometimes people will be like, I don't like this, and I'm like, I don't agree with you, so whatever. But criticism isn't bad inherently, I guess. Is my opinion.
It's like going back to what I said. It's like if we had no criticism in the world would be flat. There would be there'd be no bullshit. And sadly, we have criticism in the 21st century, and we have it in a negative connotation, in which it has every right to be, but also it has every right not to be in a negative connotation. It's just how people have perceived criticism, and if you say the word criticism nowadays, it's tend to be in a negative connotation. But the fact of the matter is, criticism stems from being constructive and allowing for different points of views and different ideologies to be different, viewed. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that's the thing, is when people just write hit pieces and they just shit on things just to be mean, that's not criticism. That's just you're being an asshole, and you shouldn't be an asshole.
I agree. Pretty much from my side of things, it's as far as me, I've never really been a person who really was super critical on something, or if I wasn't really outwardly saying I wouldn't write in Twitter pieces about it or something like that, saying oh this well, I take that back. Obviously when I was younger I did a lot of dumb shit, so that's just something you live and learn from. But as an adult, when you it pretty much what sparked this is me pretty much looking at my Twitter feed, and and obviously everyone's critical about the world, or even just something mundane, recently Barrett, our friend, mutual friend Barrett, he saw the original Blade Runner, and he was like, oh, okay, that was a pretty good movie. Didn't blow my socks off, but I really enjoyed it for what it was. And he got got dogpiled on just because he gave his opinion about something.
I've fallen asleep watching that movie twice.
Yeah, I actually have never seen it. I'm trying to see it before the new one comes out, or new one is out, so I should go see that. But he got totally dogpiled on just because he didn't like praise it to the gods. Like, you know, like maybe it deserves to be, maybe it doesn't deserve to be. I don't know. And like now he's just pretty much he's got so like put into a hole with it that he's like pretty much doubling down and saying like, you know, like Blade Runner is like not shit, but like it's not all that great. That's pretty much all he was really saying about it. And like that's like the negative draw I get from it. And like it's just like when you like get so much negativity about something, like you just have to like, you know, like just fucking just like be like overly negative as well, just to be like, just so you won't get like put in the, like you'll keep getting punched in the face, and like you get like so punched so hard that you just like you get pretty much get used to it and get numb to it, and it's like whatever. I'm just gonna double down and say like everything is shitty now, and I just don't like that in general.
Yeah,
and, like,
it's a
when
psychological
people have
thing.
that type of go ahead, Ben.
Sorry, no, there's a psychological effect where when you have a preconception and it is challenged by facts, even the human brain's defense is to grasp harder to the truth you've already accepted than to accept new truths.
Yeah, for sure.
And that isn't like, oh, I'm not saying like that's how society is. I'm like, biologically, our brains are wired to feel attacked when our preconceptions are very challenged, and its way to defend ourselves against that is to just latch onto it. So I think it's the same concept where when you have an opinion and people come at you heavily for that opinion, you latch heavily onto it and like it can go in reverse, so it doesn't have to be negative. Like I love the CW, and many people know I love the CW, but I wouldn't be as vocal, I wouldn't be as passionately defending and vocal about the CW if I didn't have a ton of people who were like, oh, Ben likes the CW, like the CW is a shitty network, yada yada yada. Which like I disagree with, and I can very easily have like a calm conversation about it, but I bring it up constantly because I've just latched onto that debate now.
Mm-hmm. And then the thing is, like in Ben, in your case, I can understand you can be very hard on the CW because you love majority of the content coming through. And if you're just being like, if you watch like one episode of like The Flash and the Arrow and like all the other shit that they're making, and you just critique it just based on that, then you really have no say in that argument because you have no idea what's going on in those shows, and like, you know, like, and that's where criticism stems from, is people heavily invested in these things. It's like where, like, just like a good example is like Danganronpa. Like I know Nabeshin and Alex just beat both the third Danganronpa. Correct me if I'm wrong. And they have like thoughts on it, but like I know they're going to critique it heavily because they've played all three of the games that have came out. And so like that makes sense to me. But when people like just get surface level rather, just like knowledge, and they critique it on that, then I begin to show them the flaws in their argument, because that's when like erosion happens, and like you see the crumbles in their argument. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah, I think the internet's created a weird situation where certain opinions are given more weight, or more like can be seen more than others. So like, I don't mind someone having an opinion or having a criticism of something based on limited knowledge. But in normal life, before the internet became what it is, if someone was like, oh, I only watched one episode of this show, and then I'm going to present a criticism of it to their friends. Their friends can then be like, oh, well, I've actually seen a lot of the show. Let me explain to you more of this and explain why, like, maybe you're basing this off of something you don't understand. And that's fine. Like, it is totally fine to present
that's totally valid.
An opinion, as long as you're like, yeah, I've only seen one episode, but this is what I got from it. And to a certain extent, like, you can kind of get a feel for it. Like, I criticize The Big Bang Theory a lot. I haven't seen much of The Big Bang Theory, but I've seen enough over like seasons that I feel like I understand what it is. And people talk about it enough that I feel like I understand what it is.
A bad show.
Yeah, but and like I've watched shows where I've seen 5 episodes and I'm like, this is a bad show. And then people say, oh, you're right, it is a bad show. And I'm like, okay, cool, I understand. And sometimes people are like, oh, it actually gets better, like in season 2 or whatever. And then, you know, I can readjust my position on it, but I don't feel bad that I had an opinion based on what I saw. It's just that when you have the internet where some voices are so much more powerful, either because they have a lot of followers on Twitter or because they are posting it to a website, you end up in an issue where some opinions become far more heard than others, and then it becomes this debate of, where, at what point does your position, does your significance, does the power of your voice give you a certain level of responsibility with how you express your opinions. And it's a really hard line to walk because like I can tweet something about I can tweet something about something I haven't finished. I can express my opinions quickly because like 300 and something people follow me on Twitter. No one gives a shit. But it'd be hard for me if I suddenly was someone with like 100,000 Twitter followers and I suddenly need to think about every opinion I express because now my voice carries weight, but that's not something I'm used to for most of my life. So how do you adjust to that?
Yeah. And that's the thing is like when you have, but it's, you can compare it to like even before like the rise of the internet, and you can follow like people just like tuned into dedicated like newspapers and stuff, you know what I mean? And dedicated magazines. They both have that following. It's just the internet has made that like those followings so much vaster, and like that's the problem, is because you have these giants, like these huge overlapping circles now versus these very minute like small overlapping circles. That's the problem like with the internet, is because you get criticisms on such a grand scale versus just a certain people are saying one thing and another people are saying another thing. Now it's everyone's got an opinion. Granted, we all have a right opinion due to the United States of America's First Amendment, and it's the internet. You can say what the fuck you want, no one gives a shit, unless you're being a total asshole. But
shout out to this week.
That's beside the point. Yeah, it's been a fun week, guys. We're all gonna die in Trump's America. But no, like when that's the thing, is the internet's made criticisms so much weirder, and that's where I think the negative connotation begins to stem from. You know what I mean? Is it comes from the rise of the internet, and it comes from the rise of personalities and people following these personalities, and like cult followings in a nutshell. You know what I mean?
For sure.
I don't know. I don't think criticisms, negative connotations come from the internet, because I feel like just like don't criticize me is this, or like I'm feeling criticized is this thing that was around at least as long as I can remember. Admittedly, I was born after the internet technically was invented, but I feel like the internet culture that is really formed around like criticism wasn't that much of a thing until maybe mid 2000s. So there was definitely a time before like games criticism and movies criticism was such a big deal on the internet. And it's becoming even more of a big deal now because of like Rotten Tomatoes and stuff. But I just think criticism got a negative connotation, and it's not a bad thing, because I don't think there are issues where there are issues where we are divided and we have trouble listening to other opinions, and so on and so forth. We know what this country currently is, and just society as a whole. But part of the issue is just that criticism in and of itself has a negative connotation, and that happens to words. That's how language evolves. And it's just that it's not that we're necessarily against people challenging us. We're just against the concept of criticism. So, and there's other words like that too, like judgment. Judgment is not a bad concept. Like everyone makes judgments all the time. But we also have this idea that we don't want to be judgmental people. So I've had this debate with my mom where I'm like, you are a judgmental person. You make judgments about people. But she's like, well, yeah, but I don't think anything bad of them for it. And I'm like, that doesn't matter, because the concept of judgment is like, I'm making a judgment in picking up a glass of water to drink it. I'm making a judgment in deciding to go to the gym one day. I don't go to the gym, but
the gym's fun, Ben.
But everything everything that we do is a judgment, and presenting opinions to people, giving our opinions on something someone does or something someone thinks is a criticism. The problem is that
most definitely.
Yeah, but the problem is that we've developed this idea that criticism means to attack. And
exactly, and that's
but it's what happens to words. And the real issue, I think,
exactly, and like,
and the issue is just that we have one group of people who are trying to use criticism the way it was originally used, which is just to present an opinion.
Be
and one group of
and
one group of people who perceive the word criticism with the negative connotation, and they're not wrong to. Words evolve. The problem is you just have people who latch on to their definition of the word and refuse to understand that someone else might be using it in a different way, which is just kind of an issue that we have with communication as a whole.
I think the biggest thing is just like the language that we say, like Twitter is the worst thing for criticism in general, just because it's like so short. Like, no matter how many words you put on there, like even if it's 240 words, like, or 280, however it's going to increase or whatever, that's still not enough to like say what you mean. Like, I can go on, I can talk to you why I don't like Batman v Superman, but like, you know, like, but I can say it in a respectful way instead of saying like Batman v Superman sucks or something like that. Like, because it's more than that. It's more. There's more of a reason why I want to say that, and that I don't like that movie. But like, you know, like I had a conversation with someone. I'll probably get to talk about that later. But like, his opinion like swayed me and like made me understand. It's like, oh, okay, I understand what you're coming from. When you say Batman v Superman is good, you don't mean like it's the best movie ever. You're saying that like it fits into this realm of what good is for you, and that totally works for you. And it's like, oh, so this is just a matter of like this conversation that we're having and the language that we're using on something like Twitter is just like not the best way to say it. And like talking works a whole lot.
Yeah, and it's just like you have to understand. You have to be able to have a conversation, like you're saying, where you can understand why people are using the words they're using and what those words mean to them. Mm-hmm. Because the biggest issue we have is
and you have to be open and honest about that too.
Yeah, it's just the biggest issue we have in communication is that we use words differently. So like I've had debates with my dad where he says, I don't get angry, and I most certainly do get angry. And he's like, well, this is how I perceive the word anger. And I'm like, okay, that's not how I perceive the word anger, though. You've set a very high mark for what you consider anger. I would consider I would consider getting frustrated or getting annoyed a form of angry. It's low level angry, but it's encompassed by it. And we got in this whole debate because he refused to accept that. He's like, well, but when you say I'm angry, I'm not angry. And I'm like, but you are as I define it. Yeah. And I'm the one saying it. So like, I'm not saying you're wrong to interpret it differently, but you have to understand that when I say that word, I'm using it in this way.
That's the key thing right there.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of people struggle with.
What's up?
Yeah. And Nabeshin, going back to what you were just saying, that's the thing I was trying to get is like when people have all this top level, surface level, like analysis and like just information, that's when they be like they're, in a sense, become flawed because they don't fully grasp concepts. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing that not a lot of people get is not unless you fully have a strong analysis and strong understanding of what the hell you're talking about and what you're critiquing, then you'll be able to make a good argument based off that. But if you have such a weak analysis and weak understanding, then your criticism is, in a nutshell, invalid because you're not really critiquing anything. You're just saying, oh, this sucks, instead of, oh, yeah, it sucks, but here's why. You know what I mean? That's the thing. That's the thing a lot of people don't get.
So I think part of the problem is just that, like Nabeshin was saying, Twitter is a platform where, at least for us, a lot of our conversations are, a lot of our criticisms are. And it's not a good platform for, long form explanations. So we do have a lot of people who try and consolidate what they're saying, which I get. And I don't think it's a bad thing. Because I've definitely had debates where I'm like, Batman v Superman is a bad movie. Done. But it's because I've had that debate so many times.
I'm best.
Done with it. It's not good.
But we're human as well. So it's like, we're going to have moments like that.
Yeah, and it's partly just like, I've had the debate many times, so I'm kind of tired of having that debate. It's also because on Twitter, I can't break down a detailed analysis of why I think Batman v Superman is a bad movie. So I just say that it is. And like a lot of times that will become a Twitter thread where I have a discussion about it. But sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes like that thread breaks off into 8 million other things. So some of the conversations die and then some continue and then it's just like all over the place. And it's, I don't know, it's fine. Like that's okay for you to give
for sure.
like a broad statement. I give broad statements all the time. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. You need to be able to back up your opinion, I think, if you're going to cling strongly to it. And actually, you know what? I'm going to take that back. No, you don't. If you're going to make a strong stand for something, like if you're going to write an article then you do. But if you're just gonna like respond to someone, if like someone says something and you're like, oh, I didn't really like Batman v Superman, they're like, why? And you're like, I don't know, I just like didn't like it. That's fine.
Yeah. Because they're not saying that, oh, it sucks or it's good. You know what I mean? They have such a, they're in the middle. You know what I mean? They're not leaning left or they're leaning right. You
But
know,
they can't
that's
say
the
it
thing.
sucks. They could say Batman v Superman is a terrible movie. I did not enjoy it whatsoever. Everything about it sucked, and like I don't think that's inherently wrong to because movies are and storytelling is at its core like an emotional, visceral experience, and some of us understand how to interpret that and communicate why we don't like it. But not everyone does, and they're still entitled to express their opinion and their criticism, even if they can't define why. And it's the same thing with going back to screenwriting. In my class, you know, we're told to give as detailed as detailed notes as we can, but we don't have to. If I read someone's script and I say this isn't working for me, I don't have to go beyond that because sometimes I don't understand why it isn't working for me. I just know that it isn't. Yeah, and that's something they have to look into. And they can look into it and be like, I think he just has a shitty opinion. I don't care. So there's nothing wrong with us having difference in criticism, and there's nothing wrong with some people's criticism coming from a more surface level perspective on it than someone who has like a deep understanding of film theory or something. But we just have to be understanding of like criticism is an opinion, and you don't have to accept everyone's opinion as the right one or the correct one, unless that opinion is that Batman v Superman is a bad movie, in which case they're right.
But the thing is, like, that's funny how you view criticism that way, because I view criticism more as a constructive manner. Like, one of the reasons I'm so hard on myself is to better myself. And like when I proofread people's English papers in my English class, they're like, all right, what did I do wrong? And I'm like, all right, scrap this whole thing. Like, start from the ground level, and I'll explain to them how to make it better argument, all that, because criticism to me is constructive, and that's the type of critiques I give. Otherwise, I'm just gonna say it sucks in general and like not tell them where to fix it. You know what I mean? Or like how to
but it's
be better at that.
But it's the intent of it's the context in which you're critiquing, and like if you want to view criticism as a solely constructive thing, then you can. That is one way to interpret the concept of criticism. But like going back to how you interpret things, I don't think criticism has to be constructive. I think criticism is very useful as a constructive source. I think that if we're going to talk about the value of criticism, constructive criticism is the best one. But
for sure,
it's not like if someone critiques a movie, if someone writes up a review for a movie and critiques it, it's not constructive. Like maybe the creators of that movie will read it and use it in their next movie and be like, oh, everyone's saying that I overuse
lens flares or something.
Lens flares. That's where I was going to go. Yeah, so I'm not going to do that anymore. Although apparently J.J. Abrams only stopped doing that because his wife told him to. So movie criticism didn't do shit for that. So like that can be constructive criticism, but for the most part, it's to tell other people whether they should see a movie or not. And that's not constructive criticism. It has a value, but it is not to constructively make the movie better. And if I, talk
because I think of that type of criticism more as critiques rather than anything. You know what I mean?
It is, but critique is just another word for criticism.
You know what I mean? Yeah, and but that's just how my brain works. Is I view critiques as like being critical. You know what I mean? Like criticism, so like if I define criticism right now, which I will do, criticism, like critique actually. Let me go to it. It's a detailed analysis and assessment of something, especially literary, philosophical, or political theory. Versus if you go to criticism, I'm pretty sure it's a different definition. Expression of disapproval of someone or something. Yeah, critique was the first one, where it was analysis, versus criticism is your expression of disapproval.
Okay, so then by definition, critique would fit more in line with your like constructive perspective, and criticism would fit more in line with just like a broad look. Also, let's be fair though, the dictionary is not a the dictionary does not okay, the dictionary
Yeah.
is not a like godly source of what every word means. The dictionary is just a bunch of people trying to keep up with
because it has
language.
selfie and shit like there and there.
Well,
Yeah,
no, it's not even that.
exactly.
It's just like the dictionary is just people trying to keep up, like create a log that keeps up with language. And for some reason, recently we've become like the dictionary is the ultimate source for what a word means. And it's like, no, not really.
Literally is.
No, and like, yeah, I mean, technically, yeah. I mean, if I like drop my glasses and go to the library, I'm like,
Are you going to fight about literally? Because I will.
God, the word literally is so aggravating.
The word literally has been used as a hyperbolic way to say figuratively since the 1800s when Charles, who used
Dickens?
it? A bunch of people used it. A bunch of like major literary writers. I'm pretty sure. God, I can't think of the examples right now. Mark Twain used it. I'm pretty sure F. Scott Fitzgerald used it once. My point is, literally has literally been used forever.
It has, and like, thanks Shakespeare, you're a real swell guy. Actually, English language asshole. But no, like, that's the thing is like that's how I view critiques is like analysis. You know, that's like versus criticism is like that's why I think it has a negative connotation to it because it's the literal definition is linked to disapproval. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
All right. So I wanted to know, like, specifically, like, who are some of your favorite critics? Like, if you even have any, like, just like someone like you go to like either for like movie reviews or video game reviews or whatever reviews or just an opinion that you like actually like value, even if they don't agree with you mostly. Like for me personally, like that will probably be like Jeff Gerstmann from Giant Bomb. I value his opinion a lot, mostly because I know he doesn't like anything I like. More. So it's like it's one of those things where it's like, oh, you don't like Kingdom Hearts, you don't like Catherine, you don't like these certain things that I'm really, really into, but like, you know, like stuff like when we talk about like games like Shadow of Mordor or something like that, and like his opinion on that, like I value like greatly, or like something like Titanfall, like when that came out, like I value his opinion very greatly because like he knows what he like, and that's the thing about Jeff Gerstmann too. Like he knows who he is and he knows what he likes, and he doesn't like put on the front like if he likes something or he doesn't like something. So like it's just like the way that he presents himself, and like and like he's usually really harsh on things, like if he really doesn't like it, and like but like and people take that way too harshly, like his opinions like on Twilight Princess, like a lot of people still hold him to that to this day, an old GameSpot review, but like because it wasn't like a 10 out of 10, it was like a 9 or something like that. I can't remember the exact score. But like
a Zelda game wasn't a 10. Oh my god.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so, but like yeah, like I like as far as like someone who is critical on something, I value like his opinion, like probably one of the most in video games, personally.
Okay.
Anybody else?
Ben, you wanna go first?
Okay. I don't know. I don't think I have like critics that I love. Just because I exist in, like, especially recently, I exist in circles that are connected enough to movies and to video games that I don't really need to read reviews because I will hear about what's good. So like if I'm on Twitter, I'll be hearing about what new games are out, and I'll see at least 5 friends playing it, and I will get opinions on, oh, that was good or that was bad. And like because they're friends, I trust their opinions a lot. So like Trevor Starkey's opinions on games, I listen to a lot. And then movies, it's the same thing for the most part. I go to film school. I'm in a cinematic fraternity. We all talk about movies all the time. I intern at a production company. They all talk about movies all the time. So I don't pay that much attention to reviews. I like Jeremy Johns a lot, who's a YouTube movie critic. I haven't really been watching his videos that much recently just because I'm around so many movie people that I don't need to get his opinion. But when I am more distanced from it, he's definitely the person I turn to because for the most part, he likes most movies I like. Once in a while, he likes things I don't like, but It's a good, he's a good one for that. And then it's just kind of like I'm more interested in people who examine aspects of games and movies than just reviews. So I tend to not follow specific people. I'll see an article posted that's like examining. Okay, I'm just gonna keep going with people we know. For example, like Alex Van Aken had a video essay that came out today about Cuphead, and I have not watched the video yet because I was at school and didn't have the ability to listen to it. But
it's real good.
Yeah, but like I'm really interested in that kind of stuff. Or I really love video essays on movies, like Every Frame of Painting or Just Right or stuff like that, or Nerd Writer, where they examine concepts in movies and see how things connect or how certain directors do certain things, like how Edgar Wright uses visuals to create comedy, or how Jackie Chan directs action sequences when he's the director in movies and not just an actor.
Have you seen every Frame of Painting or whatever that YouTube channel is called?
Yeah, that's what I'm referencing right now. They're great. Like they did a Jackie Chan one, they did an Edgar Wright one. So
they did a Marvel music one, which was fantastic.
Yeah. There's like a one criticizing Marvel for its color palette in movies, and I'm like, yeah. So I really like those. I really like criticism that is looking at aspects of things instead of just like, is the movie good or bad? Not because it's wrong to give reviews for movies or video games, just because I am in a place in my life where I don't need that, because I kind of get it from my surroundings.
For sure.
Anyway, that was that.
For me, it's like critics that I mainly follow is like the Waypoint crew, like Austin Walker, Rob Zachney, Patrick Klepek, Danica, and Danielle. Like I follow all of them because they bring this neat aspect to like games that like I wasn't thinking about, and like I really appreciate like the Waypoint Radio and all that. But like movie wise, like I just see people like I'll message someone about like, is this good? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, all right, I'll go see it. You know what I mean? But like with games, it's harder because it's like if I see something that I find fascinating with it, then I'll probably buy it and then try it out for myself. And if it doesn't click with me, I'm like, whoops, made a bad purchase. But half the time, if like something seems fascinating to me, I judge it based on myself. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing to say, but hey.
So I was curious, like since like we lived on this earth like a good number of years now, like what are some times that like you've given a criticism of something that's like, like I want to know like when was the time that you gave like a bad criticism of something, and like how do you say something that is bad to someone who actually likes it, and like how do you word that personally? Like do you be as harsh as you can? Do you like reserve yourself a little bit more to like like try to like not hurt their feelings completely? It's like, it didn't really click for me or something, or you're like, that shit just fucking sucks.
Yeah, that's the thing is like in a situation like that, for me at least, I formulate an argument, then I get facts to justify my argument and counter arguments and all that. I do like the whole fact prepping and like show them where they're wrong and show like some aspects where they may think they're right, but factually it's wrong. That's how I go about critiquing arguments and critiquing debates, is analyzing it, knowing what's there, knowing what's not there, and formulating an argument. You know what I mean? It may sound weird, but that's how my brain works. I need to gather information, do research, only to formulate something and progress it in a nutshell.
I don't do that.
Like, yeah.
I like it really depends on the situation and how much I dislike something or like something, depending on how I'm criticizing it. So like with Batman v Superman, not to keep going back to that, but I really don't like Batman v Superman. So if someone says Batman v Superman is a good movie, I'm just like, no, it's not. It's quick, it's to the point. Probably because there's enough public consensus that Batman v Superman is not a good movie that I feel like I will not surprise them by saying that. I will not ruin their experience by saying that because they've probably heard it a million times. And I think they're wrong for liking it, but they do, so more power to them, I guess. As long as they're not assholes about it, as long as I don't try and tell me that it is a good movie and that I'm wrong to think it's a bad movie.
Yeah.
And like, admittedly, I realize that I'm coming from a perspective where I say it's a bad movie, and I think you're kind of wrong to think it's a good movie. But at least like I can make arguments based on filmmaking techniques, which is really douchey for me to say. But it's hard. How do I put this? Like, I'm very aware. Like, okay, if I go see a movie with friends, I try very hard to not express my disapproval with something.
Yeah.
I try very hard to focus on like the aspects that I like, because I want them to be able to appreciate it and like let it sit with them as they're experiencing it. So for example, in January I came out of seeing Split with some friends, and they all like Split, and I hate Split. It is my least favorite movie this year that I've seen. So I was very quiet for most of that drive, because I've also gone to see movies with friends where I liked the movie and they just kept talking about their criticisms of it. And I'm like, it's fine for you to have criticisms and it's fine to discuss them.
Yeah.
I just prefer to let let my enjoyment sit for a little while and let me have my opinion of it. So I went to see Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, and I really enjoyed that movie. And my friends on the drive back were talking about all their problems with the movie, and I was just like, can we not right now?
Yeah.
So I guess I feel like I try and give criticism time. So when someone first experiences a movie or a video game or whatever it is, I try and focus very heavily on the good aspects of it, let them have that enjoyable experience. And then as time progresses, I'll be more open to discussing negatives, and because the fact of the matter is I generally see more negatives in movies as I let the movie sit with me. Like, La La Land is a flawed movie, but I loved it when I first saw it, and I can acknowledge the flaws, but because I allowed myself to enjoy it so much in the beginning and let it sit with me, I can still love that movie while acknowledging the flaws, instead of it being like this kind of crummy experience of watching La La Land because I came out of it and had all the flaws thrown at me, and I was just like, I like it. And the same thing
also has Ryan Gosling in it. It
does have Ryan Gosling in it, and Emma Stone, who's also lovely.
Very much so.
So, I don't know. I feel like I don't want to say it'd be hypocritical of me to say they should just let people enjoy things, because there are certain things where I very passionately say it's bad. But
get into that. I really want to know, like, what are the things that like you will just like
bad?
Just like there's no redeeming it. Like, you have to like just get it out of you. Just like, it's bad. It's just
Batman
fucking
v
bad.
Superman is trash.
Okay.
Big Bang Theory is trash.
Okay.
Yes. Oh God, yeah.
Suicide Squad is trash.
That show sucks.
Yes. Like, if someone comes to me and they're like, I can enjoy the action scenes in Suicide Squad,
sucks.
It does. If someone comes to me and they're like, I can enjoy the action scenes in Suicide Squad, I will say that's fine. Like, if you say you enjoy Suicide Squad, that's fine. If you tell me Suicide Squad is a good movie, you are wrong. The first 20 minutes of Suicide Squad ruins that movie, just from a structural standpoint. They give all the exposition so the characters can't give it to each other and bond, and it's like, what the? I have issues. But
it sucks.
Yeah, it's a really bad movie. And that's the other thing. Like, I can accept people enjoying something. If they come to me and they say, I enjoyed this, I can accept that. If they come to me and say, this is good, I will have more issue with it, depending on how much I think it's bad. But, I don't know. Sometimes, like, so there's Batman v Superman, there's Suicide Squad, there's Big Bang Theory. Casablanca is a freaking amazing movie. Are you kidding me?
I love Casablanca.
No, it's not. It's a bad movie.
Yeah, it is.
I can't stand Casablanca.
But here's the thing.
It's flawed. It's weak.
Oh my God, I hate you so much right now.
Well, at least I like Citizen Kane.
Citizen Kane is trash.
How dare you? How dare you?
Citizen Kane did a lot of really important things for film, and they were interesting and they were cool, and I have a lot of respect for Orson Welles for taking risks and pushing what cinema is, but the product he put out is not good on a story level.
Yeah. But, like, Casablanca doesn't click with me because it's like, oh, yeah, like I get the whole what that movie's going for, and like I appreciate it because every scene was shot like after another scene, and that's like one of the reasons I think that movie has so much love behind it is because it's one of the few movies in which that's done. You know what I mean?
Shot in sequence?
Yeah, it is.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so that's why like that's one of the reasons people love it so much is because it's one of the few dozen movies that are actually shot in sequence.
I highly doubt that's why people love it so much. Just because, like, most people aren't going to know that, and film majors aren't going to care, honestly. Like, there's a level of respect to it, sure, but as people who also make movies, we understand why we don't shoot in sequence, and there's kind of an element, like, at least for me personally, hearing that it was shot in sequence, my reaction isn't, wow, that makes the movie cool. My reaction is like, why? What pretentious asshole was like, we're going to shoot this in sequence because it'll be artsy?
I think it was. Let me see who it was. I think I know who did it.
Like, there's so many reasons to not shoot in sequence.
It was Michael Curtis.
Yeah. Okay.
Like Casablanca, I just don't like because it's weird. It's kind of campy. Like I get the whole like, oh yeah, they're like distant lovers and they like fell apart with each other, but like it's just weird. Like yeah, sure, it's got some cool things. It's got cool backdrops, but like. The ending sucks. There's like I fell asleep during it twice. That's how I know it's bad. If I fall asleep during a movie, I know it's bad.
That depends on when you're watching it, though, too.
I was watching it in my film class.
But like, what were like? So. I think your mental state or like your physical state kind of needs to be factored in too, just because some movies are slow. And they are not the best for watching
like
if you're, for example, tired. Yeah, I've fallen asleep watching Blade Runner twice in film classes, but they were also late film classes, and I was usually tired by that time. So it doesn't mean Blade Runner is bad. It just means it's a slow movie, and it's not a good one to watch while you're tired.
Yeah, it's like X-Men Apocalypse. Just watch that movie. It's bad.
That is a bad movie, yes.
That is
I don't disagree with that.
Another movie I fell asleep during, and like Casablanca is just weird. I get the love for it, I do, but like it doesn't click with me, so I don't appreciate it like most do.
I think to a certain degree, you have to. I feel like I
appreciate what it
contradicting myself frequently as I talk about criticism. I feel like to a degree you kind of have to accept certain opinions, like not that you have to accept that you agree with them. But, like, a lot of people love Casablanca. So I kind of just feel like because so many people love Casablanca, so many people consider it a high-quality movie. People who love movies consider it a high-quality movie, and people who don't love movies consider it a high-quality movie. You kind of have to be like, no, that movie's good. Because, like, Casablanca is different than Citizen Kane. Casablanca is beloved by most people. Not just film critics, most people. Citizen Kane is a movie that films, like not even film students, most film students kind of hate it, but like there's a certain class of like, you know, studied film people who think Citizen Kane is amazing, but if I show that to most people, they probably won't love Citizen Kane because it's a weird movie.
Yeah. Oh, it's for sure, but like Casablanca is also weird.
Yeah, you know but Casablanca isn't weird. It's pretty. It's a pretty.
The flashbacks.
Yeah, it has flashbacks in it. It's a love story.
They're weird, like, yeah, and that's the thing. Is like, that's not my type of movie. Like, if you're picking up on that, like, love stories aren't my thing. Like, I like.
But that doesn't make it bad.
I like. Well, no, but I didn't call it bad. I just said it didn't click with me. That's their.
You said it didn't click with me. After you said it was bad. Your first statement was like, Casablanca's a bad movie.
This is true.
Yeah, and I'll go back on that statement and I'll rewrite history and say it didn't click with me because it just doesn't. It's like
okay, that's
I
fair.
can't watch
that's totally
rom-coms
fine.
because
they
don't click with me because like,
those are very different things.
I just using like yeah, sure, whatever. You know, Trump's just rewriting history already. Joke.
No, it's not.
It's exactly what's happening.
But the thing is, like, with those types of movies, they never click with me. Like Interstellar, like I fell asleep during that. God knows how many times. I love Nolan. I love how he does. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I I can get behind slow TV shows like The Wire or Narcos. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Because they have a build up versus like
they're also
I believe
structured
Interstellar.
differently.
Exactly, and that's the thing. It's like slow movies. I just like movies recently just don't click with me as much as TV.
Interesting. I mean, that's fair. But I just mean like slow TV shows for the most part, unless they're bad, they have to be engaging within their 40-minute runtime, even if their overall story is slow. Whereas a slow movie only has to have the big finish by the end. So if you have a 2.5 hour long slow movie, it doesn't have to be engaging 40 minutes in or an hour and a half in. Oh, you did not just say that to me.
Yeah, that's like the slowest movie I've ever seen, and it sucks. So it's like a 3 hours like slog of like garbage.
Why am I friends with you?
Elijah Wood looks really creepy. It's weird. It's campy. Peter Jackson's just like having fun there. I swear.
I hate your opinion so much.
Lord of the Rings is not good. It is.
You hate good. Casablanca? You hate Lord of the Rings?
Yeah.
You like Citizen Kane?
Yeah.
Ah!
I also listen to Bad Religion and Kendrick Lamar, so judge me.
Kendrick Lamar is great.
No, but would you associate Bad Religion with Kendrick Lamar?
No.
Okay. Exactly. I have weird thoughts. No, like for me, I'll take this in like a music aspect. Is like is when majority of like founding members of Wu-Tang, so like RZA, GZA, Method Man, Ghostface, ODB, Inspector Deck, like a lot of when they split up, that's when it gets weird, and like I don't like that music as much. Granted, you have Method Man making good albums like Liquid Swords, Raekwon, also part of founding member of Wu-Tang, making Only Built for Cuban Links, and you have ODB's I don't know what the fuck is it called? Out of the Brooklyn Zoo. Something with the Brooklyn Zoo.
Yeah.
Some Brooklyn Zoo. But like RZA and GZA's like and Ghostface's first like solo albums aren't as good as those because they needed. It's like when NWA broke apart and it was like MC Ren and Yella with E. Like it just wasn't as good as Cube and Dre and you know what I mean? Like it just doesn't. They like those are parts of like a whole that need to be together. You know what I mean? And if they're not, then it's not as good.
I feel you.
Yeah.
You about to say something?
I feel like there's like I've said this already. I keep contradicting myself because I'm like all opinions are valid, and then I'm like, but also Big Bang Theory is trash. And Batman v Superman's a bad movie.
It is.
I feel like it is a bad movie.
That's all right.
It's hard. It's like, on one hand, there are ways to objectively critique a story in its structure, because we do have understandings of how stories work, and like we can objectively look at bad editing and bad like color correction and bad story structure and bad shot composition. Like you can objectively do that.
Lord of the Rings.
Continue.
I'm gonna kill you.
Yes, the color correction, Lord of the Rings, is garbage. It's too high.
Why are you wearing a green shirt in a green room? Don't talk to me about color.
Let's be clear. My team won today, so.
I don't care.
Did your team win today, Ben?
My team played on Thursday.
Who's your team?
Patriots.
Dodgers?
No, Patriots.
Football's dumb.
Baseball's dumb.
No, it's not.
Football is live action chess. Come at me.
Yeah, it's also like 10-minute playtime. Nothing happens.
Everything happens.
Oh yeah, a 5-minute play. Oh, they're done. They gotta go back to sitting on the bench.
Because it's so much more interesting to see someone hit a ball with a stick and then run every so often. But not that much, because a lot of times they just get struck out.
Okay, that's the thing. No, you're going about this in the wrong way. So, okay. The beauty of baseball is the plays, the pitching.
Quinn?
You know what I mean? Like,
Quinn?
to understand that,
Quinn?
you know baseball.
Quinn?
Yeah.
I don't give a shit.
Yeah. Football sucks and it's dumb. And hockey's better anyways. And so is basketball.
Another thing I wanted to bring up was us as people, I will say, overusing the word overrated. Like in your opinions, like both of your opinions, like what is overrated to you? Like not specifically things. You can say specific things, but like what is something that's like overrated? And like, how do you gauge overratedness? Like, because like I can see the aspect of saying something being overrated. Like if someone say like, God, I can't even think of an example right now. Like they say like the Marvel movies, are perfect. Like no, that would be overrated. I would say something like that. But like, but I can understand someone say it was beloved, like because I think there's two different things right there.
Yes.
Because like people will say Kingdom Hearts is overrated. No, it's fucking not. Because like there's so much critique about that dumb series, and I can even like say it's a dumb series. But like there's a belovedness to it because I love that series. I love it deeply, and like it is like one of those type of things where it's like overrated has been being overused a little bit too much. I just want your opinions on that.
There's this concept, particularly on Reddit, called the circle jerk. I don't know if you are all aware of what that is.
It's a good band, by the way. Circle Jerk's a good band.
Okay. Circle jerk is this concept on Reddit.
It's a solid band. They're good.
Okay. Circle jerk is this concept on Reddit. And like it's used outside of it too, but I think it started on Reddit. Which is basically like people will form this like collective like ideology and then just like stroke the ego of it whenever they can. The terminology for circle jerk coming from stroking other things. But I think there's kind of a circle jerk, but like there's this, whenever something will be talked about passionately, people will be like, oh, it's a circle jerk. It's like people stroking their egos about how much they love something, but it's like, it's being blown out of proportion. It's overrated. And I think there's kind of a circle jerk over circle jerks. I think people really love to say like, oh, this is overrated. Oh, it's not as good as people make it out to be, because they seem to think that a lot of people liking something means that everyone just thinks it's the best thing ever. Yeah. Like a lot, like you're saying, Marvel movies are beloved. Lots of people go to see Marvel movies. Lots of people also criticize Marvel movies. And for the most part, people who go to see Marvel movies and walk away just like unapologetically loving them and not criticizing them aren't people who are trying to criticize them. They're not saying the movies are perfect. They're just not getting into philosophical debates on the quality of the movies. People who do get into debates over the quality of Marvel movies, there might be difference of opinions. Some people will like them more than others. I like them more than a lot of my film school friends. But I'm still aware of their flaws, and I'm willing to discuss their flaws. And I might disagree on certain ones. But it's not like I'm out here thinking Marvel movies are the best thing ever. So I definitely think there's this desire by people to set themselves apart by pointing out that it's overrated. Too many people like it. Like my friend was talking about he's in this class where they basically like review and critique art. So he had to write a review of Hamilton based off of the soundtrack, and he had to write a review on La La Land, and he was saying like, oh, I wish we could review things that are less circle jerky. And I'm like La La Land, yes, had a very passionate love for it when it came out, and then people kind of settled down and there was more criticism over it. But it's not wrong for people to love it. It's not wrong for a lot of people to love it. No. And it's not wrong for people to then kind of like simmer down and be like, okay, well, like let's actually look at some of the more let's criticize it a bit more. And Hamilton's just excellent. But it's just
I've yet to get into it.
There's this idea that we have to have that, like, if things are popular, that we're just ignoring flaws, and thus somebody has to come out of the woodwork to criticize it, to point out its flaws. Yes. And I think that's really disingenuous. I think that it's people painting in a broad stroke, assuming that someone's dumb for liking something, for saying that they like something, because they'll say they like something like, oh, well, there's a lot of flaws. And it's like, I'm not saying there aren't flaws. I'm saying I like it. I like Rogue One. Rogue One has a lot of flaws. I love The Winter Soldier. I'm sure you could point out flaws in The Winter Soldier, but I still love that movie. And it is overall a good movie. So So yeah, I just think I'm talking a lot. I just think that there is definitely this desire to view things that are beloved as overrated because people seem to think that if a lot of people like something, they consider it perfect, and that isn't what a lot of people liking something means.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's like, for me, the term overrated tends to be like something that's popular now and like happening in the now, something that's hit mainstream culture that a majority of the people begin to love for maybe just like a month or two, or however long the span of its popularity runs. Then after that, then it just fades off to the distance. That's where I believe the term overrated comes from, at least for
Mm-hmm.
me.
Okay.
Versus beloved is like a movie like Casablanca, Citizen Kane, something that's
See,
survived the test of
I
time.
think in the opposite actually.
Really,
Yeah, because I think
because
because I think overrated implies that we consider something a masterpiece. Um,
Like
and I
someone would
think
say, like Star Wars is overrated.
yes, yeah, and I disagree with that.
Yeah.
they can get that,
But
they
but
can
like yeah,
leave
but I
the
think that's
room, like
I
whatever
think
room
I
they're in,
think it's valid
like
when you apply
leave.
it to Star Wars because there are a lot of people who love Star Wars, who loved Star Wars for a long time, who consider Star Wars this like amazing piece of cinema. So if you say Star Wars is overrated, you're at least criticizing an established love and
Franchise. Yeah,
not an established franchise, but an established love and established like reverence for this piece of cinema, which is the same thing with Citizen Kane. I think you can say Citizen Kane is overrated. I think you can even say Casablanca is overrated, even though I disagree with that statement, because
it
those
is.
are held in such high regards for such a long period of time that we consider them to be these masterpieces. They aren't flashes in the pan. However, things like things like La La Land,
That's where I think
like
the opposite, though.
but things like La La Land and Marvel movies, they generally aren't being rated. They're people saying, "I love this thing" as it's happening because we have instinctive emotional reactions to something. It isn't us taking
Yeah,
a mental look at it. It isn't us taking a logical deconstruction of it for the most part. It is just someone watches something and has an emotional reaction to it, and they walk out and they say, "I love that." And then after like 2 months after they've seen it, yeah, it might cool down. They might think about it more.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think that's people overrating something. That's people saying within the moment it's happening, "I love this."
Like you would
That
think
is
of like
that is
something like
yeah.
Age of Ultron or something like that, where everyone was like so high on that movie when it first came out. I was high on that movie when that movie came out.
Age of Ultron sucks.
Yeah,
Age
and
of
then
Ultron.
like eventually, yeah, like I got cold on that movie, like and
Mm-hmm.
like where something like
That
Captain
movie
America,
sucks. I saw it the first time. Like, this movie sucks.
Civil War, like did for me. So like that one's still in my mind, still in my
Yeah.
consciousness, and I still enjoy that for the most part. But like
Yeah,
like Age of
So
Ultron
like
was something that I almost completely forgot about now.
yeah, like it's the same thing with me. I went into Civil War and I loved Civil War and I watched it like 3 times. And over time, my opinion of Civil War has not soured, but it's cooled down.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't hold it in the same esteem that I held it when I first saw it, because it has flaws, and I see them more as time goes on. So I think it's just in the moment something's happening, and in the months after something happens, I don't think you can say it's overrated because I don't think people are really rating it. People aren't applying logic to their feelings towards it. And sometimes that just means that a movie hits on a really strong emotional level, and maybe it isn't the best made movie, but it like La La Land, but it works. And sometimes that means that it's based on a franchise that people care so much about that they kind of see past the flaws. And as that settles down, their fanboyism calms down a bit, and they can have more of a rational perspective on it. But I think that is more of emotional. It's more beloved than anything else. It's when something's overrated, it's something that's so established that people just kind of accept. Like people accept that Citizen Kane is an amazing movie because we've said it for so long. But I think it's overrated because people are applying a logical perspective to it. I just don't agree with that logical perspective.
it's like when okay, good example for me is like when people say Drake's one of the best rapper on the game right now. I'm like, nah, Drake's overrated. But the thing is, like, overrated can also be like going back to what I said, like riding that wave of popularity. But it can also go going back through history. You know what I mean? That's the thing about overrated is it has no like real definition when you're talking about like content or media or whatever the hell it is. You know what I
For
mean?
sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Versus beloved, which I think comes from like the annals of history, not annals of history, annals of history, and like has made like plowed its way, like plowed its way to like 2017 from like 1800s or wherever the hell it came from. It survived. That's where beloved comes from.
Mm.
I mean, I can see how you'd apply beloved to that more. I still think overrated can't be applied to, like, you can't call something overrated when it first happens. Because what's a good example for this? I just had one.
Call of Duty.
No.
Yes.
No, because like, okay.
Because it has its span of popularity
Avatar.
and it dies.
There we go. Avatar the movie, not like the Blue People
Okay.
movie, James Cameron's Avatar.
Hmm.
That movie is not overrated. You could say, like, coming out of Avatar's release, when it had just come out and everyone was watching it, I'm sure there are people going, oh, Avatar is overrated. But that's not true. No one really loves Avatar that much. It was just that in the moment, everyone was so obsessed with the visuals and the 3D working so well that everyone went to see it. So in that moment, you could have said, oh, I don't think Avatar is as good a movie as people are making it out to be. Or like Avatar doesn't deserve all the success it's getting, but I don't think you can say it's overrated, because I think in the word overrated, there's this idea that like rate, that you are applying, that like people as a mass are applying some kind of logical thought to it. And I don't think that's really what was happening when anything first comes out. People are applying their emotional thought to it, or people are seeing that something's doing really well and assume that means that people love it. Like, most people don't love Jurassic World. Jurassic World did really, really well. But I don't think most people love Jurassic World. It just came at a time when it was a super strong heat wave, so everyone wanted to get into air conditioning. There were no other great movies out. It was applied to a long-standing franchise that is beloved. Or at least Jurassic Park, the first one's beloved.
But
the
third one's a good movie too.
No.
Second one's
but
alright.
No, it is not. But the amount of
it's a good movie then.
Okay. I'm never talking to you about movies again.
The plot's awesome. Oh.
I'm gonna,
because I'm right and you're wrong.
When I visit you in your dreams tonight,
correct, Nabeshin?
When you have a nightmare about me tonight, I want you to know that I'm actively doing this to you.
Okay.
This isn't like, oh, Ben has scared me. Like, no, I'm hunting you down in your dreams.
Gotcha. Hey, Ben, to make you feel better, I don't remember my dreams, so.
That doesn't make me feel better. It makes me feel worse.
I haven't remembered my dreams in like 10 years, dude.
Okay. My point simply is, I think that we view people's initial reactions to something as rating of it. So we think that so many things in the world are overrated. Like you could apply overrated to Hamilton. I don't agree with you, but I think Hamilton's been around enough, and it is a sole product that you could say people have like been given the time to simmer down. You could also make the argument that a lot of people are still discovering it, so that's why the fever keeps persisting. But I just think something can't be overrated until it's been around long enough that the majority of people have seen it, or at least have developed an opinion off of it based on logical thought. When something's new, when it's fresh, the Marvel franchise, like, I think you can argue certain movies are overrated in the Marvel franchise because they've been around long enough. But I don't think you can argue that the franchise itself is overrated because it's still coming, so people are still on that like emotional hype for it. And it's just it's disingenuous to think that people's emotions, there's nothing wrong with having an emotional reaction to something that is disconnected from your more logical critique of something. And I think it's disingenuous to think that people don't understand that their emotional reaction is different than a logical deconstruction of a movie. It's just they don't care, which is fine because it's freaking entertainment.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, for me, is like when I make an argument, I tend to be devoid of all emotion, because in order to have a good argument, you have to remove your main beliefs and like how you feel about it. sure, you're fighting first, like you're arguing for something, but if you add your point of view and like your sense of something, then it muddles what you're arguing about. It's like when I write, I don't use the informal or formal letter I because it muddles what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
But that's how, like, but that's just who I am. I don't know how other people are, but it's just how I think. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hmm.
But I think you also kind of have to, especially when criticizing films and movies and art in any way, like, to a certain degree, yes, you can remove emotions from it. You can remove your perspective from it.
Yeah.
And just be like, this does not work on a structural level. This editing is bad. This music doesn't fit this. But
yeah,
those are like, stories are made so much to apply to your emotions, to appeal to your emotions. Like, one of my favorite movies is About Time. It hits me really hard. I think it's an amazing movie. If you look at its story structure, it doesn't fit what most people would consider the proper structure for a movie. It doesn't really have a core driving conflict that you can like pinpoint throughout it. Yeah. For a lot of it, it's just kind of mini conflicts that then get wrapped up and then like they do other things. And that isn't, and like it works for the movie, but you could theoretically look at it and say, like, if I handed my teacher that story outline, he'd probably look at it and go, there's no conflict here.
Yeah.
Right.
But the movie works because it's able to play on emotions and because it's able to do other things really well. So I think that when criticizing art, which is supposed to appeal to emotions, you kind of need, at a certain point, to bring your perspective into it and your emotions into it. Like, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them is not a great movie, but I really liked watching it because it appeals to me on an emotional level. The magic and the sense of wonder, and the main character being a very like kind and caring person, which I thought was really cool. It worked because of how it hit me on an emotional level. And if you remove that, it doesn't work. It has a lot of issues. Its main character is very passive and doesn't really grow. Well, he's not passive. He isn't passive, but he doesn't grow. But that isn't the whole story. When you shut down your emotions for criticism, I think you're denying what art is.
Well, yeah, but like if you analyze it, like a movie, for example, like if you analyze a movie shot for shot, are you gonna say, "Oh, I like this one more than that one because of what it does to me emotionally," or are you gonna say, "I like that shot because of the composition of it"? You know what I mean? Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're gonna. But in a movie, you're gonna assess the composition rather than like what it does to you.
No, I won't, because everything in film is to convey emotion. That's just what that's the point of storytelling. So yes, I can look at composition and be like, that's a really well composed shot, but it needs purpose. Yeah. So I'm not going to look at like, yes, I could look at a very blandly composed shot and a very well composed shot and say, this is the good one. The well composed one is the good one. But I'm saying that for the most part because it conveys emotion. And if it doesn't convey emotion, in that debate, I might say, yes, this one is the better shot. However, if I took two really well composed shots in a movie or in two different movies, and one really well composed shot is well composed but has no emotional impact, and the other one has emotional impact, that's the better shot, because it's not just doing something for the sake of doing it, it's doing it for the sake of the story.
Yeah.
And like even a beautiful shot, even if you look at something like John Wick, John Wick is really well shot, and you can look at it and argue that it's composition, but it's done for a purpose. It's neon lit to convey a feeling to you. Even Wes Anderson. Wes Anderson has a very, very distinct look in his films. It's very symmetrical. Yeah. It's very weird. But that's to convey that world.
Very weird.
It's to convey the emotions of that world, because he presents very weird worlds. So shot composition means nothing if it doesn't carry emotion with it.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like the thing about shot like that just says something to me like how you think versus how I think. I believe, based on everything you've recently already stated, is you analyze things on a more emotional level versus me. I analyze on just a very face value and analyze what's going on, like what that means, what the foreshadowing is, versus you're like, oh, this makes me happy, this makes me sad. You know what I mean?
But it's not even like this makes me happy, this makes me sad. It's that, how do I put this? Like, mise en scène is a really pretentious way of explaining how a shot is composed. How props are laid out in a shot, in a set. And the reason you do something is to convey an emotion. And yeah, you could theoretically look at it from a logical perspective and understand the emotion it's trying to convey for the characters, for the world, for the story. But I feel like appreciating how it, I mean, I guess you could argue that removing your emotions doesn't necessarily remove your understanding of the character's emotions or the emotions that are trying to be conveyed by a movie, or game or TV show.
Yeah, but, and when I say emotions, I mean like your emotions, like what it's doing to you. But if you analyze characters, like the character, that's when he gets to a completely different boat. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I guess a like, okay, Batman v Superman. Zack Snyder is a very good at composing shots. Like he's excellent at it, but his shots often lack meaning. Batman v Superman is a very, very good example of this. He directs for moments. There's that scene of Superman saving people, and it's just like Superman hovering over the people, and it is a beautifully shot image, but it means nothing. He's not like he's just hovering over them. He's not smiling. He doesn't go down to save them. You don't see him rescuing them. It's just for the shot of Superman. But if you look like, and yes, you can look at that from a critical, logical standpoint and make that argument that it doesn't convey it. But I think that to understand that it doesn't convey the right emotions, that it doesn't actually do anything for the story, you have to understand how it hits you on an emotional level, which is to say it doesn't.
Yeah. Zack Snyder, in that sense, is a weird example because you have movies when he's done Watchmen, and like, but they're all like meant for like the cool, spectacular one shot or the one scene. There's like everything after that's very bland, and that's the thing. Like him that much. Like if you look at a lot of stuff that he has, majority of the content or media that he makes is very, very bland, but his overall, like, they're the standout scenes in which people really attract to. That's the thing about him. It's like Fast and the Furious. Like, are you really going to care about the plot? Or are you going to care, like, yeah, some of us do care about the plot. Like, a lot of people watch those because of the action, like the spectacle of those movies. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's the same basic concept.
Yeah, I feel you. So the last thing I really want to bring up is that's been picking my brain lately is like as far as like when we think about like popularity as far as like criticism, is usually involves like pretty much a guy just being a rant man or a woman. I'm sorry, a person just being this like just ranting about something. So like like it like we feed off negativity and like because like it's sometimes it's cool to hate something. Like, just to be flat out honest, whereas like it's our president or just a movie or foods is like, yeah, that's pretty shitty, right? Like, yeah, that's pretty shitty, and it's like you get enjoyment out of that. But like, do you think that's actually good criticism at the end of the day?
I mean,
like we think about like our like popular YouTubers. Is this like like we want to rant about like EA doing shitty things or something like that, or or like how Zack Snyder is just can't make a good movie or whatever, or just stuff like that. Like, what are your general thoughts on that?
I don't think it's insightful criticism because you need, and like, it's not insightful. It's not constructive. You're not providing and
solutions.
A solution to anything.
You just keep announcing the problem over and over.
Yeah, again. And like you can announce problems without providing solutions, but you need to kind of announce more specific problems. Like, like I mean, like saying Zack Snyder can't make a good movie is valid criticism. Whether people agree with it or not, your basic claim is Hollywood should stop putting him in charge of directing movies, and that is a criticism. That is a solution that you are presenting. That probably won't be followed, but like it is a solution. But
and that's the thing is when people criticize things and they don't have solutions, that's when it. I mean, like, Trump sucks, but who are we gonna elect to change it? Like, sure, Congress might impeach him or something, but like, there's no valid solution to that problem.
But that's also the thing, because I feel like, how do I put this? Something might not be the most insightful criticism. Like, if I say Trump sucks, that's not insightful. We all, like, it is an opinion shared by many.
Stating something that's very
expressed by many. However, things don't have to be, like, criticism doesn't have to be insightful. Criticism is just an expression of how you feel. And yes, sometimes you're trying to be constructive with it. Sometimes you aren't. Sometimes you're trying to vent to your friend that Trump sucks. Sometimes you want the knowledge out there that you don't support something.
Right.
Because having many voices saying that, regardless of how detailed it is, matters. This week, there was a lot of criticism over sexual harassment in Hollywood.
Yes.
Because on Thursday, Harvey Weinstein had a whole expose about him, explaining how he sexually harasses women, which was not a secret in Hollywood, by the way. Everyone knew. But it just, like, it wasn't talked about. And women didn't come forward because he was very, very powerful.
Yeah.
And
it's like who's the guy at Fox who just got, like, canned?
Bill O'Reilly?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Fox News?
It's also, like, a very, like, same example. Yeah. Because, like, Megyn Kelly and all these people basically got money. And it's like, say, oh, yeah, be quiet about this. Or, like, and then they just left the network. You know what I mean? Like, now Megyn Kelly works at the competitor NBC. You know what I mean? Like, it's just how the cookie crumbles. And it's like, when people do shady things like that, they'll often, like, just get away from that company. But the Harvey Weinstein example is, like, you can criticize him all day, but, like, what, like, sure, he's done shitty things. Like, influence is massive. You know what I mean?
Yes, like, but my point is, so, like, Harvey Weinstein happened on Thursday, and then on Friday, Andy Signore, who is one of the founders of Honest Trailers and one of the founders of Screen Junkies, which is the company that makes Honest Trailers, was outed as sexually harassing women, as abusing his power to in the company to try and get sex with women or get pictures sent to him, stuff like that. Sexual harassment. And lots of people were talking about it. And I mean, for the most part, most things people said aren't insightful criticisms. They're just repeats of what everyone else said. But that doesn't make it wrong or bad or invaluable to say that. Because
like saying anything is sometimes like just saying anything, because like we can be so apathetic about something and just like just let anything just pass by, and like something as terrible as that, and just like just reaching to someone who may have been affected or maybe not have been affected, but like, you know, like they could be affected. It's like, hey, I'm on your side. This is where I stand, and like
it's showing the world, the people you care about, the people who are opposed to you, everyone, where you stand. And that is a form of criticism. You're presenting criticism, but its point isn't to add to the conversation. Its point is to add to a side. And that's fine, because I think criticism comes in many forms. I think criticism comes in many forms, and I think that you don't have to have insightful criticism. You don't have to have, everyone's allowed to express an opinion, and like sometimes opinions are really shitty, and sometimes opinions are really fucked up. And sometimes opinions are ones where you're like, okay, you really shouldn't say that, and you're really shitty.
John PewDiePie.
Yep.
To name two.
Nazis.
In general.
But
Yes. Donald Trump.
Yeah, but
What?
I think, but like, I don't think that we should say that, you know, one form that like you should only criticize something if you're going to provide a detailed, you know, breakdown of it. If you're going to provide new insights to it in certain situations, sure. If you're going to write an article about why something's bad, you know, don't just be like, Batman v Superman is bad. This article was written by Ben Bellevue. Done. You know, provide a detailed opinion. But if you're tweeting and you're like, I don't like Batman v Superman, or if you're tweeting and you're like, I support the women.
There's no context to your voice. That's why. That's the thing, is people don't understand that. In order to have valid criticism, you need to have context.
No, you don't.
To what you're actually talking about.
It doesn't matter. If someone asks you what your context is, you can explain it. But I can tweet out, I don't like Batman v Superman, and that is enough. And I don't have to explain myself. Like, because it's my opinion. Yeah. And maybe that criticism doesn't hold as much weight because I'm not explaining myself, but the opinion is still valid and the criticism is still valid.
Yeah. And that's the thing. That's where I would call that an opinion versus a criticism. Because, like, your opinion is your point of view. So, yeah, you say Batman v Superman sucks, right? But in order to have
saying that I'm criticizing it.
In a sense, yes, but you have to have some valid, like facts and formulate an argument saying why this is a bad movie.
But that again,
you can criticize it on a base level, yes, but in order to have like a good solid criticism, you need to like give context and say, oh, this scene, the shot, whatever. You know what I mean? You have to say why and where and like. Use facts to support your argument.
But that gets back to how we interpret words, because we use criticism loosely. That's just the way the world is. We use it loosely. So we're not talking about constructive criticism. We're not talking about in-depth analysis. We're talking about criticism. And criticism can be, I don't like Batman v Superman. And that is my opinion, and that is a criticism.
I would boil that down to an opinion.
Right, but that's your interpretation of the word criticism. That isn't necessarily the interpretation of the word criticism. So, like, you're saying that you have to have more detailed analysis.
No, not analysis, but like just facts to support your claim.
There's no facts.
Yeah. Can name shots and scenes why Batman v Superman sucks, right?
For them, like, yes, to a certain degree I can, but there's a level beyond facts, because it's also like the editing doesn't work. Well, the editing doesn't work in movies that are good too. The story structure is flawed. Well, the story structures are flawed in movies that work too. It's just that something is not factually good or bad. When a mass consensus considers something bad, I would say that, like, yeah, it's bad. A mass consensus considers the Big Bang Theory bad. It's bad. A mass consensus considers Batman v Superman bad. It's bad. But, like, I don't know. I've contradicted myself so many times within this debate. I'm like aware of it because it's very complicated.
That's where I would allude to opinions versus, you know what I mean? Like,
but criticism is not a detailed, like, even if you look at the dictionary definitions that you read, which again I will argue that language evolves and dictionaries are just trying to keep up with it. Yeah. But if you look at the dictionary definitions you read, criticism is just an expression of disapproval. Critique is a detailed analysis, but criticism is an expression of disapproval. Yeah. So if I tweet
the definition of an opinion, a viewer judgment formed about something, not necessarily based on fact or knowledge. So, due to that definition, you can just say something on a base level sucks versus you're actually critiquing it and having your point of view based on facts versus critique, which is your point of view on a subject.
But if I say this scene doesn't work, this edit doesn't work, that isn't a fact. That's just a more detailed analysis of the same thing. If I watch a movie and I just say, this movie didn't work for me, it's bad. It is a broader, version of the exact same thing. But it's a broader version of the exact same thing. I'm either saying this didn't work for me as a whole, or I'm saying this didn't work for me because this scene didn't work for me, this edit didn't work for me, this story structure didn't work for me. At the end of the day, you're expressing an opinion, just a more detailed opinion or a less detailed opinion. So I think that, yes, a more detailed opinion is a more complex criticism of a subject, and there is weight to the fact that it's a more complex criticism of a subject.
Yeah.
But it does not mean that a broad criticism isn't a criticism.
Yeah, but that's the thing, is like, so you have this pyramid, right? Like, this is a pyramid. On the very bottom level is opinion, middle level is criticism, and very top, like this tiny little triangle up there, that's where critique falls in. It's this like ramping up towards. You have in criticism, you have like facts to support, but you're not in a nutshell analyzing them. You're saying, oh, these don't click with the thing. You're not really analyzing. You're not going beyond what's there. And you're providing a little bit more commentary, versus if you go to critique, it's like full-on analysis, you have full-on commentary, versus opinion, which is like, oh yeah, this just sucks.
But that's just semantics.
Yeah, and I mean, we have been arguing semantics for like the last 15 minutes.
I'm aware.
The definition.
I am aware. I know where we went.
I think I'm on with Quinton on this one, because like I feel like it all starts from somewhere. It starts with your opinion, and then it gets to criticism, and then it gets to critique. So it's like I could say something blanket, like, yeah, I could say like Batman v Superman sucks, and then like someone will ask me, why do you think it sucks, and then it'll go to like my criticism of it, and then like they'll argue my criticism, and then now I'll get to a full critique about like why doesn't it work in general.
Yeah, and like I get that. I understand how you can look at criticism as a more detailed version of an opinion. It's just that you also can look at criticism as an opinion, a negative opinion, because that is how the word is often used. That is, by the definition that the dictionary has, that is a way the word can be used.
Yeah.
So you can argue that, like, so the problem that I'm hitting on that has causing me to keep debating this is just that when you say something isn't valid criticism, that you need this to be criticism, it's dangerous, because some people will interpret criticism as opinion, as negative opinion, and that's how they perceive that word. So then they're hearing what you're saying and they're thinking, oh, because I'm not like super analytical or smart or putting all my effort into analyzing this and breaking down why I don't like this, you're now telling me my opinion isn't valid, that my criticism isn't valid. And that's the danger. Well, and I know you have a right to an opinion. I'm just saying that it's the danger of saying, when criticism is used so loosely, I understand the way you're using the word, and that is a valid way to use the word. It's just that it's used so loosely that if you say criticism needs to be this to be valid, some people might hear you, and the way Nabeshin is hearing you and thinking, yeah, there's opinion, then there's criticism, and there's like critique. Some people might hear you and not think that. They'll think, oh, there is differing levels of criticism.
Be critical.
Levels of criticism. Like, so in their mind, you're now saying that you don't even get to have a criticism without taking an analytical approach. So they might see the entire pyramid as criticism, whereas you're seeing, and even though they know they're in that opinion level, they still think that falls under the criticism pyramid, whereas you're just saying there's this pyramid of analysis and criticism is a center point. And that's just where you have to be careful.
But that's also how I think. I'm also very analytical and very critical on things. I provide a lot of commentary. That's but that's how I think. I don't know, like, I can't get into your mind and fully understand how you think. I'll say that I'm analytical of like everyday things that I do, but also things. You know what I mean? That's like, it's just our personal definitions and how we think about things.
Yeah, I understand that. I just think, I think that to a certain degree, people need to understand the broad context in which something can be used, and understand how their words can be interpreted if someone is using that broad context. Criticism is a broad word. You can apply a more
Oh, for sure.
nuanced version to it, but it is a broad word. It is a word where people will often use criticism as a synonym for a negative opinion.
Yeah.
So when you say like criticism needs to hit this mark to be criticism, some people will think that that simply means that an opinion is invalid. Because I would say that I use criticism more as a blanket statement. I don't like there's higher levels of criticism. There's different tiers of criticism.
Yeah.
But if I'm interpreting criticism as just expressing at its base level, I'd say criticizing something is just to express a negative opinion of it. And then as you go on, it's more it's more critiquing, it's more breaking it down. And I understand that there are other ways to interpret it, and I don't dislike the way you interpret it. It's just that when it's so often used as a synonym for negative opinion that it becomes it risks alienating people because you say, that's not a good criticism.
Right.
And that's things like, but going back to what I was saying, it's just how I think. Like, sure, I'm critical of a lot of things, but like negative opinions. If I say when I have my negative opinions, it's just a blanket statement. Say, oh, this is bad, and but if it's something good, then I'll praise it for being good. That I is bad. I won't really elaborate on it because I don't want to just destroy it. I think in a more constructive fashion. That's why I praise good things versus I put down bad things.
But I feel like that's why we have. Sorry, continue.
Go ahead.
I feel like that's why we have the add-ons to the word criticism. Like you keep saying, I view it in constructive, but because of that, I view criticism as a less nuanced term because you have constructive criticism, you have detailed criticism, you have in-depth criticism, and because we have to add those terms to convey what we mean, I feel like criticism itself isn't a broad term. It isn't detailed or in-depth or constructive by its nature. It can be. There are those forms of it. And I understand viewing it more in a more constrained form like you do. And I understand that when you think of something, you tend to think of them analytically to begin with. And that's totally fine. And I'm not saying that it's that's totally fine. I'm just saying that when looking at criticism in a social context, in the way you communicate with other people, I have trouble viewing criticism as a complicated, words. I have trouble viewing criticism as a specific form, as that second tier in the pyramid, just because it so often is applied to the whole pyramid. So in my mind, I would say there's criticism, which is broad. This is bad. Then there's, in-depth criticism, which is or constructive criticism, which is a more thorough breakdown of something, which is what you would consider criticism as a whole. And then there's critique, which is a form of criticism. So there's just different ways of interpreting the word. And I think that, going back to what I said in the very beginning of this, there's a danger when we interpret words differently of offending somebody or making them think that you're saying one thing when you're saying a different thing.
Yeah.
If I tell my mom that she makes judgments, she'll think I'm saying she's a bad judgmental person, but that's not what I'm saying. It's just that we all make judgments. If I tell my dad I think he's angry, he'll think that I think he's flying off the handle, but it's not. Yeah. I just think that he's annoyed, and I interpret annoyed as a part of the angry pyramid.
Right.
Yeah. Everything comes down to triangles, guys. It's just how you see things. It's how you triangles.
The pyramid is bullshit.
It's just how. But it's just it's how you perceive things. That's the bigger picture here.
Yes.
You perceive things I perceive things one way. Nabeshin perceives things one way. We're all one-way streets in a nutshell. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Hence the phrase one way. It's just people believe in what they have, and some aren't willing to open up and understand things. It's like it's in America right now. Some people are willing to pry open that and discuss it, even though some people have been discussing it for years. You know what I mean? Like, it's how you perceive culture. It's how you perceive the world and like words and the English language. It's just how you see things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was real good, guys. So before we get off this this tip,
Yo.
I just wanted to, like, I looked up real fast because I thought this would be fun to do. That's like this, like the little decompressing before we go out. It's like I just like got some popular things. I got a list of popular things, and just like I just want your quick critiques of those.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna spitfire some of these things. Five Guys.
Good.
I have not had Five Guys in like 8 years because I don't really eat red meat, so I have no opinion.
Real.
I'm with Quinton. It's good. Batman in general.
Dope.
I like Batman's world more than I like Batman. He can be done really well, but sometimes he's also done as this kind of just like generic, uninteresting, brooding figure, and I'm like, okay, you exist, I guess.
Nolan's Batman, so yeah.
Yeah. He works really well when played off of more optimistic characters. I do have I tend to like Batman's world a lot more, so I'm a more fan generally of Batgirl or Nightwing than I am a Batman, because they exist in that world. They deal with the same criminals who are super cool.
Yeah.
Like, Joker's amazing. I love that world, but Batman himself, he can be really cool, or he can be really mad.
Okay. As long as the Bruce Timm Batman, I'm good with it. Kanye West.
Good. Crazy, but good.
Great music.
Crazy, but good.
Great music. Not too much of a fan of the person.
No.
The Hunger Games. Never got into it. It's like not my thing.
I read the books. I really liked the first book. I really disliked the movie adaptation of the first book. I really liked the second movie. Wasn't a huge fan of the second book. Jennifer Lawrence exists.
Teenage love story. Woohoo.
I don't love Jennifer Lawrence. Hot take.
Oh my god, Jennifer Lawrence is awesome.
Is she, though? Is she?
Playbook.
She's no Keira Knightley.
She is great in Silver Linings Playbook.
Yeah.
This one's for Ben. Pineapple pizza.
Phenomenal. And excellent. I mean, like, I've never had pizza with just pineapple, so I can't speak to that. But pineapple on pizza, in the right combination, great. Pineapple, jalapeno, and pepperoni, the perfect pizza.
Garbage. Total garbage.
Like all of Quinton's opinions on movies, apparently.
Oh. I have good opinions. And valid.
Yeah, I'm neither for it nor against it. It's fine. If it's there, I'll eat it. If it's not there, I'll eat it. Pizza's good.
Oh, Nabeshin.
That's how Nabeshin.
See, the thing is, if Quinn thinks that his opinions are good, and I say that his opinions are like pineapple on pizza, then he thinks that pineapple on pizza is good. If Quinn accepts that his opinions on movies are trash, then he's creating the statement that pineapple on pizza is trash.
Well, guess what? Pineapple on pizza is trash. All those movies I mentioned earlier suck, so...
You're the worst.
Hamilton.
Excellent. So good.
Alexander Hamilton, the U.S. historical figure.
Yes, of course.
Some weird things. He's on whatever bill he's on. I think it's the 20.
He's on the 10.
Whatever. But like, I don't know Lin-Manuel Miranda. I'm not big into the musical scene, so.
But Quinn, how does a bastard, orphan, son of a whore? Wait, shit. There's so many versions of that, and I always get each one confused.
Cool. Musical.
Dear Theodosia, what to say to you? You have.
I love musicals, and I do too. To Hamilton.
Hamilton's
really
so good. It's so good. I saw it in May. You know this, And
Yes,
it's
I do.
so good. It's so goddamn good, guys. Even the songs that I didn't love in the soundtrack, like they have the most intricate choreography in the show. So I got in there and I was like, oh, these are going to be the parts of this show that I like the least. And then I saw how it was choreographed and how everything played out, and I was like, holy shit. This song is designed to work with the choreography. So even though it's not the best song, it works in the stage production so goddamn well. Everything about that, it's so good. It's so fucking good.
See, I don't do musicals.
When I first discovered Hamilton,
I like
listened
when
to it for
albums
4
tell a
months
story,
straight.
See, like I'm a fan of like when Ghostface Killah drops an album with Adrian Hughes, and it's like, oh yeah, 12 Reasons to Die, and like it tells a story throughout the album. But like I can't get into musicals just in general. But I'll listen to like fictional telling a story. But
It's
musicals
so
don't
good.
work
Also good is Dear Evan Hansen, which is the musical sensation this year. Not as big as Hamilton, but a very good musical.
Yes.
I like it a lot. I highly recommend
keep
it.
that in mind. Game of Thrones.
Never
Very, very, very
seen it.
good.
Too much incest.
But incest
There's
wins
not.
this.
There's like situations of incest.
And also, guess what? If you can't,
I mean,
tell fantasy doesn't do
there's
it.
2 major situations of incest. There are, okay, there's more than 2.
Yeah.
I started remembering side characters, and I was like, oh yeah, they did that too. Shit.
People banging their sisters and all that. Yeah, that sounds like fun.
Okay, only one character bangs his sister. One
The
character.
rest is all cousins, right? Twice
No.
removed.
I mean, there's a lot of cousin banging. Not that you directly see. Most of it's like, oh yeah, these characters that you've never met, like ancestors and stuff, were cousins, but that's less of a deal now. There is a guy who bangs his own daughters,
That's still creepy.
which is really creepy, but he's not supposed to be a good character. He's treated as a complete creep for doing that.
Game of Thrones is weird.
Also, I remembered the Hamilton opening, so I'm going to do that now.
Please don't.
How does a bastard orphan, son of a whore and a Scotsman, dropped in the middle of a forgotten spot in the Caribbean by Providence, impoverished and squalor, grew up to be a hero and a scholar? The $10 founding father without a father got a lot farther by working a lot harder, by being a lot smarter, by being a self-starter. By 14, they placed him in charge of a trading charter. And every day while slaves were being slaughtered and carted away across the waves, he struggled and kept his guard up. Inside, he was longing for something to be a part of. The brother was ready to beg, steal, borrow, or barter. Then a hurricane came and devastation reigned. Okay, I'm done. Our man saw his future dripping down the drain. Put a pencil to his temple, connected it to his brain, and he wrote his first refrain, a testament to his name. Okay, I'm done.
All right. Just 2 more. Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
I love Scott Pilgrim versus the World. I didn't when I first watched it.
It didn't click with me. I probably should watch it again. It'll click with me.
Yeah, I watched it when I was like, I don't remember how old I was. I think like 15 or 16. And it just didn't click for whatever reason. I don't know why. And I was like, oh, this movie's, like everyone's saying this movie's great. And then it's not. I don't get it. And then I watched it a couple of years ago. I forget why. And I was like, holy shit, I love this movie. I don't know if it's age
I like it right, but
or...
it didn't click with me.
Yeah, I don't know if it's age or if it's just that it's a movie I had to watch once to get a feel for what it is before being able to like watch and appreciate it. But I love it now. I didn't love it then.
I like when it first came out, I watched it ad nauseum. I love that fucking movie. But then like somewhat recently, I watched it again. Like for some reason, I was just like, no. I don't like this movie at all. Because like I guess Michael Cera really got to me at that point. I haven't watched it again in like a year or two, so I'll probably rewatch it again. Because I had the Blu-ray. Like I said, I watched that ad nauseum. I loved it at first. So I don't know. Maybe I grew off with it. I don't know. And finally, Greg Miller.
Greg Miller.
He's all right.
He
overrated.
Yeah, overrated. Loud, obnoxious. No, I love Greg. I fucking love Greg, guys.
Yeah,
he's the best.
I like Neil more than I like Greg.
Is that an insult to both of them?
I like Alex more than Greg, so.
No, I love Greg. He's so sweet, and he makes such a strong attempt to like remember, to like keep up with people and remember everybody and talk to everybody.
Yeah.
And His panel on cancer at PAX was the best panel I've ever been to, because I'm a very big, like, I'm very into using your platform, because like being in games media and being in like Hollywood and being in Hollywood media or whatever, like, yeah, you provide entertainment, but at the end of the day, you're not changing anything. Mm-hmm. But you have a platform, and I really respect people who take that platform and use it to try and do more for the world. And like, that's, you know, like, if I am successful in screenwriting, I want to be able to do more for the world. And Greg is successful in video game culture, and he used that to, you know, talk about what cancer is like and what you go through, and give a really powerful emotional experience. And it was really cool. I love Greg. I also love Geneviève St. Miller, because she loves me. And because she's adorable and kind, but also because she loves me.
Yeah.
I like Alex O'Neill over both of them. So. Wow.
Alex, my God.
I mean, if you put Alex over Greg, I'll be like, okay, but I will fight you over Jen.
I have no real conversations with either of them. So.
I'm going to load a revolver, and each bullet is going to be going to represent a different thing that Quinn has pissed me off about today. So, like, one bullet will be for you saying Lord of the Rings is bad. One bullet will be for you saying that you like Alex more than Jen. One bullet will be for some other bullshit opinion you expunged today. Oh, that Casablanca is a bad movie. One bullet will be for you saying Citizen Kane is a good movie. One bullet will be for you. Movie.
Thanks. Reagan Air is the best Kendrick song.
Okay.
Fight me.
I'm not going to fight you on that. I don't care enough.
Well, listeners, this has been Fresh Off the Dome. Thank you, Ben, Quinn. Thank you for fucking coming on here.
Fun.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's been almost 2 hours.
Just got inspired, just like hanging you guys at Kind of Funny Life 3, and just like just seeing you two interact with each other. Like pretty much like this is all I wanted with this show. And like it was like
just me arguing with Quinn.
Yeah, like I loved it, and like as soon as like when Ben said, "Oh, I want to get on this too," when Quinn actually already said it to me, I was like, "Oh, I have to make this happen." So this is how it is spawned off. But Quinn, how can they find you on Twitter or whatever?
You can find me on Twitter at quantum_arbiter. You can find my brand /website breakingreality.com, in which I have been doing daily new stuff. Recently, I've been doing some stuff because I'm doing some stuff for lying about Stardew Valley. Spoilers. So I've been just chugging away on that, so I haven't been really pushed. I haven't done something on my website in like 3 days, but that's fine. But no, you can find my podcast, which is Breaking Reality, on iTunes, Google Play, and you can also find it on breakingreality.com. Exclusive podcast, Breaking Reality Stories, which bi-weekly podcast in which I interview someone doing something cool, or like interview them about their journey to where they made it or something like that. I just did it with the Input hosts, and that's a dope show that everyone should listen to. Nah, that's my plugs.
Ben, where can you find you, man?
You can find me on Twitter at Mr_BentoBox. You can find me on Instagram at Mr. BentoBox, no underscore, which is the case for every other social media platform I'm on, except for Twitter. I hate my life. You can also find me on 6 Degrees of Feature Film on youtube.com/missmovies. You will not see my face, but you will hear my voice every so often. And you can find me in my college coffee shop, slowly dying from too much work. Yeah, also, please don't actually find me in my college coffee shop. That would be weird.
That would be weird. And I have been your host, Brian Nabeshin Jackson. You can follow me on Twitter at Nabeshin186. That's Nabeshin 186. And also on Irrational Passions, where I talk about video games most of the time. And yeah, this has been Fresh Off the Dome. Again, this is just a conversational podcast where not really just to get famous or anything like that, but just to have conversations with my friends and just learn different things and just get enamored with a conversation. There's so many times in podcasts where we have to introduce ourselves and give our brand and then go through this whole rigmarole until we get to the actual meat and potatoes, what you want to. And this is what Fresh Off the Dome was all about, just getting to the topic, nothing but the topic, and just go as long as we want to about that topic. So, but yeah.
I want to say something real quick. I'm happy that I was able to help you get the show off the ground.
Yep, fucking straight up. Like Quinton was my my motive to like he totally got me to do this because like I'm constantly a person who like comes up with ideas and like always just drop them. That's just like how I've always been in my entire life. And like when I put it out there when I was going to do this, Quinton was the first one who actually was like, hey, you should do this, and like he actually like encouraged me and like actually made me get around to doing this, and now it's like something I'm crazy in love with.
I've been wanting to make a podcast that's just like debate a topic each episode, and I keep not doing that, so I totally feel you on wanting to start something and then just being like, there's so much other stuff I need to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yo, Ben, just pull the
trigger.
We are.
We're doing it.
I have 7-day weeks and I still have time to write every day and do my podcast, so you have time.
That was the 6th bullet.
Okay.
We know how the revolver's loaded now.
Okay. All
right. Well, thanks for listening, and we'll check it out next time. Later, guys.
Take it easy, guys.
Bye.